What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Variant the Podcast, Quarantine Edition, right, Tim? This is like episode 2, I believe, of the podcast we're doing from home.
Yes, episode 2 from home. So, what's up, everybody?
Yeah, so...
Welcome to our homes.
I wanted to ask you, because I actually haven't talked to you in a couple of days. We've both been kind of busy just trying to hustle out our work. But how have you been holding up with the quarantine?
It's been interesting, man. You know, I work from home from time to time. I tend to work weekends and things like that. So it's not that unusual for me.
Right.
You know, I have a couple of offices at home. So I work from home quite a bit. But it's been weird, everyone just being isolated and having to deal, because we've got an entire team. You know, I produce Variant, but I also do several other things, you know, running Triune. So it's like, it's very weird having to deal with all the different avenues that we normally do from this singular space, like just every day. Cause you know, you're used to just being, you know, right down the hall from everybody and just pop in and say, you know, whatever you got to say and move on.
Yeah.
But, it's been a little weird.
Yeah, I think it's really strange for me. I feel like I'm kind of like a man on an island in a sense, because I don't, you know, I do like the normal like emails and stuff from home and whatnot, but I don't really have an office from home. I just have like my toy room, my man cave. So I have everything set up in here right now. As people who watch Variant know, I've been shooting out of here for the last 2 weeks now. But it's just, it's weird. But oddly enough, we were talking about this a little earlier. I do feel like I think I get work done a little quicker at home, just because, like you said, we have a bunch of, you know, team members and stuff at the office and friends, and it could be a little distracting where you want to like catch up and talk and goof around. Where here it's just like, I want to get done so I can play Mario Kart because I got my 65-inch Samsung like right there. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and it's so different too, because we, you know, for most people, like my kids are older than yours. You have a younger daughter.
Yeah.
And my kids are older. My youngest is 9. So, you know, they're all home and it's like all day, every day. So it's like, it's an interesting juggle. And like, it's got to be weird for everyone, you know, who's used to their kids being at school every day and all this kind of thing, you know, not just having to work from home if they can, but also you've got your kids home all day, every day, like it's summer.
For sure.
And it's like this sudden abrupt stop to school, or for many parents, they're actually trying to homeschool now, which is a unique experience for most people. So it's definitely an interesting time, but I totally get what you're saying. It can be, it's a different kind of distraction, I guess you can say, when we're at the office, because we do have a fun job.
For sure.
When we're at the office, we got a fun gig, and
we have Nerf battles. That's great.
Yeah, we literally all have Nerf guns in our offices, and we attack each other at random. So it can be a different kind of distracting for sure.
Yeah, the only distraction I have here is I got, like you said, I have the little 2.5-year-old, and she's, you know, to her, I'm like her big like action figure, her big toy. So she's like, "Daddy, play, Daddy, toys with me." So like, if she doesn't understand, she's like, "You're home, so that means you're playing with me."
Yeah, so I don't understand the problem.
But yeah, this has been interesting, and I am itching to get out though. And like the only place I think I've gone is to do like grocery store pickups. Like I don't even go in grocery stores right now. I'm just doing like grocery store and Target pickups where you just drive up and they bring everything out to you, just because the world's crazy right now and we keep getting new information about it. So yeah,
it's been really weird. I have actually ventured out into the stores a couple of times.
Okay.
It's been days, but I've ventured out a couple of times, you know, and you know, wearing gloves and the whole thing, and you know, keeping my distance from everybody. Yeah, you know, it's so weird, right? Like it really does, and everybody has said it over and over again, but it really does feel like you're in a movie at this point.
Like 28 days later, like The Walking Dead even.
Yeah, Contagion or something like that, where like you venture out, everybody's got masks on and gloves on, and everybody's, you know, staying away from each other. And if you start getting too close to another person, you get this very awkward moment where people are, where you're like, "Hey, I'm going to move this way," and the other person's doing the exact same thing. Like nobody wants to get too close.
It's so true.
It is very weird.
Me and my wife were doing a pickup order the other day, and we see people who were, you know, coming out of the store, who are actually in the store, and a bunch of them are wearing masks and gloves. And what I find that's even weirder is how much, like, you know, we're kind of getting used to that already. Like when you see people with masks and gloves, you're not like, "That's weird." You're just like, "Yeah, Me too. You know, you know what
absolutely.
I mean? So,
And now we're getting to the point where they're finally saying, you know, they're starting to say, okay, everybody does need to wear masks, because for the longest they were saying, you know, the masks don't help you, which made no sense to me from the beginning. It was like, why are they saying the masks don't help, but then they want everybody to wear them in the hospital?
Right.
It's like, don't get masks because they need them, but they don't help. It doesn't make any sense. Just say, hey, we need these for the healthcare workers, which I get it, because people are stupid. I mean, you already had, even with them saying that the masks don't help, you still had people hoarding them and selling them on eBay and stupid crap like that.
Insane. That stuff pisses me off.
Dude, did those people not make themselves like the enemy of the world?
Because in a time of need where people are literally dying and sick in ICU, you're going to just try to make a quick like $50 on eBay? Like, that is insane.
I saw that one guy. Did you see that one guy? He had a literal garage full.
No. Oh, the hand sanitizer?
The hand sanitizer. And there was another guy who had a garage full of masks.
I like to say there's a special place in hell for those type of people.
Well, the dude with the masks, he got reamed so bad, and he was getting attacked so badly that he wound up donating them.
Just to save face, to be like, look, I'm sorry.
Just to try and be like, I'm sorry. Please don't murder me in my sleep.
Oh my God. It's insane.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's like we've talked about on the show, you know, when this all first started, and, you know, that in these times, it brings out the best in people, but it can also bring out the worst.
For sure.
You're gonna see both when situations and environments are this extreme. You're gonna see both.
Yeah.
And thankfully, in large part, I really feel like so far we have seen the best side of humanity really shining.
I will agree with that. I will agree with that.
It's been a really, really cool thing to watch. So many people, just in every way. I mean, just from before it really got more severe here in the U.S., you know, the videos that we were seeing coming out of Italy and Spain, where people were just singing to each other and finding ways to try to cheer each other up. And now you're seeing that kind of graduate over here to the U.S.
Yeah, or even sorry, but even like our wealthy over here, you know, they kind of get a bad rap. Everyone's like, you know, forget the billionaires. They got all the money. They don't need any help. But like a lot of I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of these wealthy people and billionaires, you know, since they're the ones with most of the money, are the ones stepping up and, you know, like giving up their salary for a year, giving away their bonuses to pay their employees, you know, so people can, you know, so there is a lot of good in this world. You know, I say it all the time on the show, and that's what I like to look at. And we're seeing a lot of that right now. You know, Mark Cuban is, you know, one of those people right now, who's paying all of his employees and everything, even though there's no work, and donating all this money. And bunch of, you know, CEOs and these, you know, these titans of industry are doing that with a lot of companies. And it's really, really cool to see.
Absolutely. And you know, you mentioned Mark Cuban. He's a great example of that. And, you know, another one that really has stood out here for us in the state of Texas is the CEO and the head of Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah.
He gave up his entire salary for the year to reallocate that money to pay employees and keep as many people on payroll as possible. You know, there's a lot of instances of that, and just from top to bottom. And I think that it's reflective of the situation we're in, right? Because this virus, it's not biased towards anyone. It's no favor. It shows no favorites. It's affecting the rich and the poor, the young, the old, you know, doesn't matter race, politics. It's affecting us all equally. And so it presents us with this very unique opportunity for everyone to, you know, put all of these things that we tend to kind of, you know, bludgeon each other with and divide ourselves with, you know, and put them down and find that common humanity, bring ourselves together and help each other out in every way that we can. And for most of us, you know, kind of frustratingly for me, you know, we have platforms, you know, both here in Variant and Film Riot, and we have these platforms that we have that we can utilize to kind of rally our audiences and the troops, which is something that we're going to talk about here in a second, to find, you know, groups that are doing the work on the front lines and look for any way that we can to provide them with aid and support. So that's what we're doing. That's one of the things that we're looking to do. But, you know, short of that, when you're sitting here stuck at home, it does leave you feeling a little bit helpless. And like, you know, I feel like I should be doing something because, like you said, people are literally dying.
For sure.
And it's in every state, and so it's finding the way, that balance of being responsible and doing your part, and trying, we are doing our part by staying home and keeping the social distancing going for the necessary period of time, but then also looking for any ways from home that we can provide support and aid however we can.
For sure. And even to the point, as much as like you said, everyone doing their part or what they can do, like obviously should go without saying, but we should obviously keep praising it. All the nurses, all the doctors, all emergency services and stuff. Those are the real heroes and stuff out there, and they deserve the praise. They're the ones risking their lives every day to save these people who are sick. But I also think there's something to be said that in entertainment, even it's an escape for people, right? So obviously it is nowhere on the level of being a doctor saving someone's lives, clearly.
Right.
But, talking about, games or movies and stuff is a great escape and does help people get through time. So,
there's no doubt.
That's what we do here. So we're hoping that this could bring anyone, if you're, a lot of people deal with anxiety and they need to get out and they're missing their family and their friends and stuff like that. So, us here, we hope that talking about Batman for 10 minutes could at least, give you some escape or anxiety relief at all. Because I know for me personally, why I love superheroes so much and why now I talk about it for a living is because they did help me get through a lot of hard times. And, there is something to be said that these are not real characters at all. And, they are fake at the end of the day, but they do represent and have a lot of morals that we should aspire to be or, replicate. So I think there is some importance in that, in that too. And I hope that we're bringing you people some happiness in these very trying times right now.
Absolutely. The way I look at it is we're the court jesters.
Right.
We're here to try and bring levity to a very heavy and dark situation any way that we can. And, all of us need mental breaks because literally you turn on the television and it is seriously rough news pretty much around the clock right now.
I was telling my wife today, I feel like we're in Groundhog Day because for the last 2 weeks now, like, things have changed, obviously. Things are actually getting worse, but it's more or less just the same information. They're just being like, everything's doubled. So it feels like you're almost stuck on repeat with it escalating while being at home. And it's crazy, man. Never in our lifetime. Really weird.
Yeah. And while our doctors, our doctors, our healthcare workers, the truck drivers and the people that are working in grocery stores, these are kind of like our soldiers that are out there on the front lines that are fighting the battle, right? Mm-hmm. We cannot forget that one of the biggest problems that this whole situation is creating is economic. Obviously human life and the health of human beings is priority number one, and that's where our central focus needs to lie first and foremost. Mm-hmm. But the economic factors that are surrounding this are mounting every day as well. And so going back to what I was saying before, what we're looking to do here at Variant is we're looking to partner with organizations not only that are focused on the healthcare front, but also on restocking food pantries around the country.
Yes.
Because there is a major issue that is already growing. And we want to keep it from getting out of hand where those who, don't have as much and are a little bit less fortunate and need these food pantries to survive, to feed their children. We want to make sure that these food pantries and these organizations that work so hard to feed people who need it and provide for those who don't have as much, that they have the resources needed to move forward. So one of the organizations that a lot of us have been hearing about that we are going to be partnering with also, and this is just one of them, is feedingamerica.org. Mm-hmm. We're actually going to be partnering with them, and we're going to be adding a donate link to our Variant episodes, starting with this next one here going forward. And we're going to be looking for different charities and charitable organizations that we can partner with, where we can leverage us as a Variant Nation. We can come together and we can do our part in the fight. To make sure that not only the healthcare workers have what they need, whether that's, the protective gear that they need, or even just, I saw this organization I was reading about it on the internet last night on the news, and it's called feedthefight.org. And it's
Okay.
literally this group that just came together just in the past couple of weeks because of the need. And what they're doing is they're trying to kill two birds with one stone by supporting local restaurants and going and putting in big orders of food and then taking the food to the healthcare workers at hospitals and providing food for the healthcare workers while simultaneously providing some support to the local restaurants to do two things. And so it's a nonprofit and they're taking donations, and all the money literally goes towards that cause. It's feeding our healthcare workers and providing them with food and, snacks and coffee and whatever they need in terms of, just getting some fuel in the tank.
For sure. Yeah.
I just thought that was such a cool idea and such a great way to kind of, again, just do two things at once.
Yeah.
Because this whole thing is there's just so much need all the way around. So these are the type of organizations that we're going to be partnering with, and we're going to be adding that donate link. And whether it's on the regular episodes here on Variant, that's where you're going to find the donate link. But then also here on the podcast, we're going to be bringing that to you guys here as well.
Yeah, no, those, again, I knew about feedingamerica.org and stuff like that, but Feed the Fight, like you said, I guess they just band together recently. And that's kind of going back to what we were saying earlier, that, in these times you see these people, just groups of people coming together to help people less fortunate. And, you and I and people like us, we're very fortunate. And I think that's another thing we're going to learn from all this, to like how good, the majority of us really have it. Sure, we're not driving like a Bentley or a Mercedes or something like that, but we take for granted, like, just going to the freaking store and buying chicken, and now like finding chicken is hard to get.
That's right.
There's
no doubt. Exactly right.
So,
yeah.
But I will also, to your point, encourage the Variant Nation. Right now we know comics are suspended for the foreseeable future, so you can't even go buy new comics right now. So maybe just take like that $6, $5, $10, even $3, anything helps, and just donate it here and possibly feed someone. You just gave someone lunch or dinner. You know what I mean? So
that's right.
I know I'm going to, so.
Yeah, we all just have to, we've got to band together to do whatever needs to be done and focus on the most important parts right now. And, like I said, you said it before, we all need these moments of levity when we're going to talk about comics and we're going to talk about all these fun things. But we've got to keep our priorities in order. We've got to keep the focus right now on the bigger picture.
For sure.
And not lose sight of the people that are hurting and really, really need our support, however we can give it to them. You would be surprised how far $1 can go. Some of these charity organizations and these nonprofits, they are masters at stretching $1.
That's what I was saying. I mean, like, for our audience, it's like, just don't buy one comic book. A comic book is normally anywhere from $3 to $4. So that $3 to $4, like you said, could probably, feed like more than two people, depending on how far they're able to stretch it. And that's just $3, one comic book, if you look at it that way. You know what I mean?
Exactly right. And, we're not getting our Starbucks every day. So take that coffee money, you know what I mean? That change. And we just need, like I said, we just need to all work together to provide as much support, because, we're in this for a little while now. They've already stretched out the national, guidelines for another month.
End of April,
and it could go longer than that. But that's the peak. You know what I mean? They're talking about the peak not even arriving and for another 2 to 3 weeks, and then we've got several weeks after that where the numbers start to come down. So for right now, they're talking about this. This is looking like this is going to go into June. As far as things not returning to normal until June, July. And then it's like, what is the new normal going to look like when it's all done, right?
I was going to say, people are going to, they say it takes 2 weeks to form new habits, right? And, we're already on week 2. It's definitely we're going to go another month guaranteed, we just said end of April. So like you said, how's the world going to look after that? A lot of people are already going to be stuck in their new ways. They're going to be used to working from home. You know what I mean? They're going to be used to not eating out as much or whatever may habits to be. So I'm very, very curious, but it does look like it's not going to be till like this upcoming holiday season around October, November, where things are going to start going back to normal.
Yeah. And like I said, even then it's like, what is going to be the new normal?
Right.
Because just the level on which everything is taking place. We've never seen this before. Not just here in the United States, but on a global scale. This has never happened. Not like this. where everything, there's just this forced shutdown of everything, and literally, obviously not everything is shut down, but most of what we consider normal society is being shut down.
Right.
And so it's like there's a lot of things that are going to change because of this. I mean, they're talking about massive unemployment, and obviously, the governments here in the United States and the governments around the world are taking huge steps financially, scary steps, honestly, to try and curb that. But all of these things have consequences and ramifications. So it's like, what is that new normal going to look like? So, and that just takes us right back to, we all have to put down all the nonsense that usually divides us. We need to put it all away and to the side. And we've got to dig deep and come together and help each other however we can, because it is going to be a challenge going forward.
It's like we're a football team. Dig deep. They
yes,
get it.
Exactly.
Fight for it. How bad do you want it?
Yeah. For the whole thing, man.
Right.
So, it's just interesting, but the positive, going back to the positive that we started with, is that we've really seen some really spectacular and just inspiring humanity come out in all of this, and it's just been a joy to watch. And I really genuinely hope that all of us individually, but then as a community, can continue to build on that and strengthen that.
For sure. And like you said, to mention it one more time, we're going to put in the description and links below on the video version. And then even, I guess, in the podcast, feedthefight.org and feedingamerica.org for you guys.
Feedingamerica.org, yep.
Yeah, if you guys want to donate, that'd be great. I'm sure all these families would definitely appreciate it. But now, like you said, speaking Absolutely. Of levity earlier, because that's what we do here, let's talk about some happy things. Let's talk, kind of happy things.
Well, I don't know if we can say they're happy, because they
kind of happy things. It's actually not really a happy thing, but all right, let me rephrase. Let's talk about comics.
Yeah, it's in the comic book arena.
Yeah, it's definitely not happy in hindsight. It's comic book theme. Let's talk about some comics.
Right. Let's talk about what's happening in comics.
Right. So the big thing right now, obviously, we talked about it at our last podcast, that Diamond Select is currently shut down indefinitely, meaning that no comic book stores will be getting new product for we don't know how long. There's no date on it. It's just shut down until things clear up. And that doesn't just mean new comic books. That doesn't mean your new comic books every Wednesday. That also means your Magic games, your collectibles from a lot of these companies like DC Collectibles and stuff like that. Diamond Select, all these people who ship these specialty toys and graphic novels and games to comic book stores and specialty shops are distributed by Diamond. So they're shut down.
They essentially have a monopoly on the distribution of published works in the comic
100%.
Which was not a good idea from square one.
It's literally the definition of putting all your eggs in one basket. Anyway, we were very curious. We were talking last week. It's like, what is DC going to do? What is Marvel going to do? Are they still... Many assumed that they were just going to keep releasing digital, right? They'd be like, oh, well, they'll just release digital because the publishers have to make some money in the meantime and stuff. And we're like, what is that going to do for the comic shops? And
including me, by the way.
Right. It's a whole deal. But we found out DC and Marvel actually just announced that they are not going to be releasing new comic books even digitally. They will still be releasing comics, but they will only be releasing digital first and collections, meaning like graphic novels, like basically, like last year's Batman run, they'll finally collect it and they'll release that digitally. So only previously released comic books and collections, and digital first, which were always going to be digital first, hence the name Digital First. We don't know how long they're going to be doing this, but we do know DC actually made a letter and sent it out to a bunch of vendors and people.
It was pretty vague, I will say.
Yeah, so it is very vague. So we don't know how long both Marvel and DC are going to keep up with this. But right now, we're not getting, that new Thor end of this month. We're not getting that new Batman end of this month. It seems, or anytime soon. Well, actually, let me take that back. DC did say in their letter, or they reported to Newsarama, I believe, that the new Batman issue is slated to the end of April. But like everything going on in the world right now, it was supposed to come out, I believe, this coming Wednesday. It was supposed to come out soon. It was supposed to come out early April, but they moved it to the end of April. But again, everything's changing day by day. So who's to say they're not going to push it back again? So everything's in flux right now, and this is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty wild. And I think we even said this last week, but in my opinion, I think that's just what I just think that's for now. Like they knew they had to give people an answer because there was all kinds of issues that were supposed to come out.
Right.
Right. And so they've got to update everybody somehow. I cannot, I guess the easiest way to say it is it just really depends on how long all of this drags on. Right.
Right.
If they're not able to distribute comics for another 2 to 3 months, do you really think that they're just going to say, okay, well, we're not going to have comics until the fall?
Yeah.
I just can't see that being the case.
For sure, and I'm very curious to see, because obviously, once Diamond announced this, even before they probably announced it, they had to talk to at least Marvel and DC. Those are probably their two biggest vendors, right? You're talking about Marvel freaking Comics, Disney, and DC Comics, Warner Brothers. So they had probably discussions before that was even announced to the public and all the comic book shops. So I'm wondering if they even know something behind the scenes where, this is me just totally spitballing here, but maybe they know that Diamond is working hard and maybe able to be up and running end of April, or maybe they worked out a deal with Diamond and be like, look, we have to, to keep us afloat and keep, comic book industry alive in general, because we're the ones who make this content for you and the stores. We're just going to have to release digital, but we'll give you like a month. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is just me talking, but maybe that's what's going on. I mean, this is going to be a day by I feel like we're going to be talking about this every podcast because we're probably constantly going to have new information on this like week by week.
Yeah, and it's going to change. I mean, think about how rapidly things have happened and changed, almost on a daily basis over the last month and a half to 2 months, right? Just with everything surrounding this whole situation, things change so rapidly.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's, tomorrow they may make a different announcement. Who knows? What we do know is right now is that we're looking at least through the end of April for the strict national guidelines to be staying in place, which means that at least probably another week to 2 weeks after that, the distributors, I have to imagine, are not going to, the conditions of the country in terms of the virus are going to be such, coming down off of a peak, where they're still not going to feel comfortable enough distributing the books normally. So you're looking into sometime in May, at earliest. And like everyone, across the board, we're all hoping that we're able to knock this thing out as quickly as possible. It's why we're doing all this. It's why we're, taking such immense, unprecedented risks right now in terms of our economy and what, our jobs and our businesses, is because we recognize the risk on the health side and the challenge that we're facing with this virus. And so we're doing what we need to do to knock that part of it out. Right. But so we're hoping that, we're able to knock this thing out quickly, but, we are, just from a realistic standpoint of what we're seeing and the process in the period of times that we've seen elapse in these other countries like Italy right now. I mean, look, Italy's been dealing with this for a month and a half?
Around there, yeah.
And their numbers are just now starting to level out at a peak. Right? It's not like, they're coming down and things are safe again. They're at like peak numbers. They're just not going any higher. They're kind of starting to round out, and the hope is that they start coming down here in the next few days to weeks. But you look at the time periods that are lapsing, and it's like if it's anything like that here in the States, which I desperately hope it is not. But if we see anything like that in terms of the ramping up and the ramping down of everything with all the mitigation we're doing, then you're looking at bare earliest is sometime in May. So the question is, can Marvel, DC, and maybe more importantly, all of these smaller publishers hold out and publishing any comics until that time. And they know that, I'm sure, by now. So maybe that's their hope. Maybe their thought process is like, okay, we can last until May, but if they extend this again, we're gonna have to do something different.
It's a crazy thing because we know statistically speaking that comic book sales, the majority of comic book sales, I believe it's roughly around 80% of all comic book sales are still physical print copies.
Right.
So I'm sure even going digital, obviously a lot more people will be drawn to buy digital just because they can't get their prints and they want the stories in the meantime. But I would be curious to see, even if, tomorrow they're like, all right, we're just going to continue releasing, but digital, how many people would just jump on board to read the stories, or, and how many people would just be like, I'll just wait to get it in print. Or how is that even going to look? Because if this goes 2 months down you're talking about like end of May, or even let's say early June, let's, say like way out. And, Batman 91 was supposed to come out early April. We're now in freaking like beginning of June. Are we gonna get that in print when they've been releasing it digitally? So now we're like on issue 93 digitally, but for so long print has been out, so they're just gonna have to play catch up and ship like back issues essentially to the comic book shops. Like, what's that gonna look like? How would they deal with that? So there's lots of like questions to see, because again, nothing like this has happened before. Like for comics, for the world, like everyone's trying to figure things out. Like even us, like as far as making content and stuff, we're just kind of, seeing, oh, we want to do this. How are we going to do that? Because this is a totally new world right now that we're living in. So it's just crazy.
It really is. It really is. And like, it's day by day. We're figuring, all of us, even in our business, we're figuring this crap out as we go.
Right.
This junk has never happened before.
You thought we had a plan?
God, it never happens again.
You thought we had a plan? We didn't have a plan. We're winging it.
Heck no. Yeah, no. We're all winging this stuff, man. It's like we are rolling with the punches like everyone else, and we're fortunate in that with what we do, the line of work that we're in terms of the entertainment industry on the new media side, it's much easier for us to adjust. Like you see all of these other people that are, these typical network, hosts and these shows. You see them doing their, using Zoom and all this kind of stuff. It's a much steeper learning curve for them because this is not the way they operate. Whereas for us,
on like $100,000 cameras and all that stuff.
Exactly. Full studios, full production crews, and all this kind of stuff on a daily basis. They got writing teams, which they still do. They still have all that in place.
Right.
But it's been a steeper learning curve. Whereas for us, it's not as much of it's not as much of a challenge. We just have to make a few adjustments and
for sure
we're set. It's more different in terms of like we change up, the format a little bit. Like we shoot in studio, we have sets and all of that kind of a thing. So there's slight little changes there, but.
It's funny. I was telling my wife, because like you said, we're fortunate enough to have like our own studio, right? So we have our own set. We have a studio where most, YouTubers, people on YouTube do shoot out of the house. Like this is their normal, right? But for us,
this is normal.
For us, we're fortunate enough to have, a nice studio and set. But so when I'm bringing all the gear home and stuff like that to set up here in my man cave, I tell my wife, I'm like a real YouTuber now, shooting out of my bedroom.
I'm a real boy. It really does. Like me and my brother Ryan, he's the host of Film Riot and the owner of Triune, and we were talking about it. It's like it really does take us back to when we first started.
Right.
And we were shooting out of our houses and things like that. And we were doing, family and friends, run and gun. Everything was just like really like small, and it takes us back. So there's like a novelty to it, a strange novelty to it.
Yeah, right.
And I think, honestly, I think we're going to look back, from the entertainment side of this. I think there, like any major moment in history, we're going to look back and we're going to see, some of the things that were put out right now, even down to like things like the Tonight Show and, the way that they're recording from home with their families and their kids. And it's going to have like a novelty to it. It's going to be
For
something
sure.
that we're going to look back and we're going to say, man, that was really helpful.
I think the funny thing is, I don't know who I was listening to. I was listening to someone. I don't know if it was a podcast or a YouTube clip or something about a week ago, but they brought up the point that some of the most popular characters and franchises in fiction were created during times like this, like the Great Depression and stuff like that. Like they were referencing like the Looney Tunes, Mickey Mouse, like all this stuff was created in like really bad times in our economy in the world. So I'm curious to see, while everyone's at home and people are trying to figure stuff out their own, or even create their own stuff, because a lot of businesses and stuff are closing shop or temporarily and stuff like that. So people got to do things on their own. What cool new things are we going to get when this is all over? You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
there's someone in their basement right now brainstorming, making like the next best, like, character for a comic book or a movie or a TV show pilot.
Right.
So I'm very curious to see what we're going to get out of this, because in times like this, when you're forced to use your creativity and only the resources you have at hand, we get some of the best stuff ever created.
It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. And it's not just that. I think it's also the pressure.
Right.
It's that, when you're going through really difficult times,
The pressure of you like have to succeed and get through this.
yes. And, this is kind of like we were already in the midst of a very disruptive time technologically.
Mm-hmm.
So this is happening kind of simultaneously with that now. And so, when you put this kind of pressure and you put people in this situation where their backs are against the wall and they've got to innovate, they have to find ways to do something new or different, not just to survive, but to be able to thrive.
Right.
That pressure, it goes back to, you bring out the best and the worst of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the time where you see creativity really shine, you see innovation really shine, and you see the best and the brightest really rise to the top. And
for sure.
I think that we're likely to see that because, again, not to stress it, but whether we're talking about comics and what's happening with whether can they publish, can they not publish, or any myriad of other things like what's going on. You could even take it to what's going on in healthcare, and all of the way that they're being stretched and challenged. That is going to lead to major changes in the healthcare arena. Even just down to where they're talking about where they're doing like the telephysician services,
Mm-hmm.
where you go to you make an appointment and you talk to a doctor online. That's something that had been conceived previously, and
Mm-hmm.
the regulations were such where they weren't able to do it. So it really didn't catch on. Well, now they're encouraging it. So in the future, like here in the next couple of years, we're likely to see that explode where
for sure.
you go to the doctor via like teleconference. Where you basically are FaceTiming your doctor and that's your appointment. And they talk about your symptoms and basic stuff like that. And if it's something they feel it's more serious, you go in.
But to piggyback off of this whole DC and Marvel doing digital first and collections digitally and no new comics every Wednesday, even digitally now, Diamond actually made a statement. They wrote a letter and sent it out to a bunch of their vendors and people who they supply product for, saying that all their payments for the publishers, the gaming. So for people who don't know, Diamond's, I said a little bit earlier, but Diamond doesn't just do comic books, right? So they also do like a lot of games in the world, like tabletop games. I believe they do Magic: The Gathering, one of the most popular card games out there. They do like DC collectibles, action figures, and toys and stuff like that. So a lot of they basically they're the middleman basically of like for these companies and then the stores, right? So basically. The stores will order it, and then Diamond will get it from DC, Marvel, what have you, and then give it to the stores, right? But right now they're suspending all payments to their vendors. The vendors being DC Comics, Marvel, Diamond Select, all these people. So that means that now DC, Marvel, all these companies aren't making money off their product, which they've already sold to Diamond to sell to the comic book shops and specialty shops. That's no good. That is no bueno. Because
and that passes right on down the line, right?
No, it does.
That's your shippers and your warehouse workers,
yep.
And, all of these different things, storage facilities, and I mean they're even saying they're not paying rent.
Well, yeah, and the reason why they did say in their letter they did not make this decision lightly, right? But because due to the fact that comic book shops are shut down, they're not ordering new product. Meaning, Diamond isn't making any money, meaning that DC now and Marvel and all these companies aren't going to make any money. So essentially, in a roundabout way, they're like, hey, we don't know what our cash flow is going to look like in the next coming months. So unfortunately, we're going to have to hold on to that payment right now, because if we give it to you and then, 30 days from now, we got nothing, then we're all screwed. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
so, again, it's crazy. It's like we're talking about comics, but it's also like economics at this point because this is like business at the end of the day. Again, comics, movies, at the end of the day, this is all a business, and the only reason why it exists is because we give it money. So, point in fact, if the comic book shops aren't giving Diamond money, that means they can't give money to DC and Marvel, who are the ones making this product. Meaning if the people are not making money from making this product, we have no product. So it's like, what's gonna happen? Now, clearly Marvel is Disney and DC is Warner Brothers, so you would think they could sustain for a reasonable or a good amount of time, being like the titans of the industry. But what is that gonna look like for, smaller companies? You know what I mean? You got like Boom Studios, Vault Comics, IDW, you know what I mean? So again, I don't know.
Yeah, and the biggest, I would say the bigger issue, these big companies, they will find ways to make it through it.
Yes.
It's the bigger issue remains the trickle-down effect, where you have these large companies where they say, like, for instance, you have Cheesecake Factory, right? Same thing, where they said, okay, we're going to stop paying rent. So that directly then affects the major commercial outlets, that own these buildings, and then they can't, they're not receiving the rent payments from, their tenants. So then in turn, they can't pay their mortgage or, the commercial deed. And so they're unable to, and then it just trickles. Then now that becomes a problem in the financial institutions and all these kinds of things. So there's, it's one thing leads to another. And in terms of comics, it's the exact same. If you have, Diamond isn't paying their vendors, then they're in turn going to have a harder time paying their creators, paying, for the people, for their own rent and their own overhead costs. And each overhead cost represents another business with other sets of employees and so on and so on. And it just kind of ripples throughout the economy. So yeah, we are talking about comics in terms of the industry, but this is the broader economic problem surrounding this whole virus situation. And comics is obviously taking a huge beating because, like so many things that are not priority or essential, they're at a full dead stop.
Well, what's crazy?
It's like the movie industry, right? Like full dead stop. No theaters are open. No movies are being released unless it's digital. So at least they have some revenue on the rental side and things like that. Companies like obviously Netflix and Disney Plus and Apple and Apple TV or Apple Plus,
they're thriving right now.
Yeah, they're thriving right now in terms of like their viewership. But everybody else, where you got go put your butt in a chair somewhere, they're just getting brutalized.
Well, I think that's another thing too. I think people also got to think, because there's so many aspects of this that just while thinking about it, new things will pop in my head. But another point to that is, a lot of the comic book movies being such a big thing right now, right? For both Marvel and DC, they are trying to integrate that more and more as the years go by with their comic books. Meaning they know if they got Venom, the new Venom movie coming out with directed by Andy Serkis, they're going to try to do an awesome Venom title or Venom story around the release of that movie. Issue with that is now we know Sony Pictures just announced that they're moving Venom 2 and Morbius to 2021. They're not even pushing it back to like the end of the year holiday season. They're like, no, a whole year. Like I believe Morbius isn't coming out till March 2021, which is literally this time next year. So, that's going to affect a lot. I'm also curious to see with that too, because yes, the business side of the money, because that's what sustains all this. But from a creative side, just the stories that were lined up with a lot of these comic book publishers and stuff like that. We were supposed to be getting DC's Death Metal here pretty soon. Scott Snyder actually tweeted out a teaser for issue 2 recently on Twitter, saying coming soon. But the way things are going, are we gonna get it in April still? Is it gonna come out? Is DC gonna force to push it back? Because that's a big event. DC's Death Metal was gonna be, I believe, the biggest event for DC in 2020. You know what I mean? Yeah. Dark Knight's Metal was hugely successful for them. It introduced, the Batman Who Laughs and all the evil, dark multiverse versions of Batman. So this was like everything coming full circle with the Hell Arisen storyline with the DC's Metal. Apparently, even it was going to incorporate some Doomsday Clock, Dr. Manhattan stuff in there. So, this is affecting everything in the pipeline. So it's like everything going to just get pushed back. You know what I mean? So even like Matt Reeves, the Batman, we were supposed to get that, I believe 2021. Does that mean we're not getting that till 2022? Like literally the whole world is just going to be pushed back a year. Cause even, I'm kind of all over the place right now, but even like schools, I heard in Texas, my wife was reading an article, the kids will have to repeat the grade they were in this year in 2021. So,
oh my God, they're going to be revolting.
Yeah. So literally,
are they trying to cause riots?
Yeah. Dude, it's crazy because the kids had like what 2-3 more months left of school.
Yeah. And, there's only 2 more months left.
Yeah. And so obviously no summer school because we're still probably going to be in quarantine for summer, So what do? You kind of have to push everything back a year. So, I'm just making all these points and kind of jumping around to be like, what is this going to look like?
Yeah, man. And I think going back to what you were saying about Morbius and Venom 2 being pushed completely to the next year, I think a lot of that, and it coincides with everything else you said, or the other examples you gave, I think that people it's starting to set in that this is not just going to be a couple of months. Even after they give the all clear for the virus side of things, we may see, they're saying this may be a seasonal virus, and we may see a resurgence of it here coming into the fall in October, November. And then you're also talking about all of the paranoia, right? If these numbers continue to grow, and as that's what's expected, as people see the hardships associated with this virus, there's going to be some new habits that are going to set. People aren't going to be rushing out to get back to some of the normal, getting crowded, areas and situations with a lot of people. It's going to take a while for people to kind of ease back into a sense of security and feeling like, okay, this is all right again.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That was going to be one of my my next points / questions. Like, let's say tomorrow they're like, all better, all gone. Just because they announced that, does that mean you're going to go to the movie theater tomorrow? Just because they said you're still going to be a little like,
yeah, no
wait a
way.
minute, let's wait, let's ease back into this a little bit. I'm going to wait for because everyone, it's been shoved in our faces every day of how serious this is. So most people are just gonna be like, all set. I'll stay at home for like another 2 weeks. Wait for it to really die down.
And we're still, because this virus is so new, we're getting so much conflicting information. Just going back to what I was talking about the masks, where it was like, okay, wear masks. No, just don't wear masks. They don't work. Okay, just kidding. Wear masks. Everybody wear something on your face. Just the conflicting information. And it's because everybody's trying to figure it out. And that includes the scientific community. The scientific and the health community, they're still trying to figure out what's up with this virus. They're still trying to figure out how it functions, how it affects the human body and who it affects. Does it affect different people disproportionately or not? So we're constantly getting conflicting information, and one of the big parts of that in terms of what we're talking about is how long does the virus live on surfaces? How long does it, hover in the air? And that's changed dramatically multiple times. So we don't know that for sure either. So yeah, there's going to be a heck of a lot of paranoia about like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and call it for the year. Let's just go ahead and give it like a full 7 or 8 months. It should be gone by then. If it's not dead on the surfaces, we have to abandon the planet.
It's crazy. People have been, I don't know if you've seen, but in the comments of the YouTube videos, and then people have even been tweeting to me personally asking to do like the top 5 or top 10 like pandemic comic book storylines. And I just,
as if we need that.
Yeah, right. I just think that stuff is so funny because you even go on Netflix, and I think last week, it might still be trending, like the number 1 trending movie was like freaking Contagion on Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I told you I watched Outbreak.
Oh my gosh, you're just a glutton for punishment.
When this whole thing first started, and I was just getting warmed up, I was like, I need to get in the right mindset. I started saying, I need to get my game face on. Like it was like end of January, beginning of February. Huh?
You need Morgan Freeman to tell you how to handle it.
Yeah, I was like, doggone it, where's Dustin Hoffman? Because like at the end of January, beginning of February, I started getting the sense of like, hey, there's something really wrong here, and this is when it was still mainly in China, And so that was when I was like, I think we talked about it before, where that's when I first noticed the pandemic docuseries on Netflix. And I was like, what the freak? I was like, what kind of weird coincidence is that? And that was when I watched Outbreak, and I was just like, yeah, it's time to get geared up. We got to get ready. We got to get mentally prepared.
Oh my gosh.
Get Dustin Hoffman, get Morgan Freeman.
All right, with that, let's actually talk about happy things. Go on.
Speaking of happy things.
Yeah, speaking of happy things.
Yeah, speaking of happy things, and going back to Netflix.
Well, no,
dude, freaking Tiger King.
Oh, dude, did you finish it?
I have watched the whole series. Are you
so
done?
have I. So have I. Yes, I have.
Okay, can we just for a second? And I know we're not saying it. Every freaking human being on the planet almost has watched the series at this point.
I think we could make a whole podcast of Tiger King. I could talk about this show. It is the most bizarre / fascinating / cringy, awesome, weird thing I've ever seen.
All of the above.
It is. I kept looking over to my wife and being like, this is not real. These people,
joke, right?
These people walk on this earth. They share our air.
Every time I thought it couldn't get weirder or more bizarre or just like go to another place. Just wait 5 minutes.
Dude,
all you had to do was wait 5 or 10 minutes, and it was like, what?
Dude,
what?
Joe Exotic's music videos, though. His music videos, oh my gosh.
Am I the only one that thought, like, how does he talk like that, but sing like that? Dude,
I don't know. That perplexed me too. But
it was so bizarre.
I couldn't have. I'm at a loss for words. But like, you couldn't have just taken like shuffled a bunch of random things down in a jar, right, on paper, and put it in a jar, mix it up, and throw it at a wall, and you still wouldn't get a show as weird as this show.
No show.
Still wouldn't happen.
Dude, how shocking was it toward the end? And for those of you who haven't seen Tiger King, I'm going to say some spoilers here. But how shocking was it toward the end when his one husband, I think he was, kills himself?
Oh, yes. The young kid. He was like 19 or 20 or something like that.
Yeah. And they show the video of the guy who was sitting there talking to him.
You see the muzzle flash?
Yes. My jaw dropped.
That, and spoiler alert, I believe this is episode 2 or 3. Spoiler. The one of the keepers, she got her arm bitten off by a freaking tiger.
Well, it ripped. They said it ripped the skin off of her arm. And they said, look, you can either go through months, if not years, of reconstructive surgery, or we can amputate it. And she was just like, just amputate it. Just take the freaking thing off.
Dude, I got to pit my
that
stomach.
girl, I think she's tougher. Like, she's tougher than I am, for sure.
No joke.
She was like, just take the arm.
Dude, not only that,
hesitation. I'd have been like, what?
Not only that, they're showing the video of this, because they're videotaping this and they're blurring out her arm because obviously extremely graphic. But they have the real video of this, and even as she's sitting there with her arm like hanging off by like a small piece of flesh, she's still conscious and kind of like she's in it. You know, she's like in shock clearly, but she was like, I would have fainted. Like I would have been gone. Night, Arris. Like, I don't know. She's tough as nails.
It was this show is by far one of the craziest things I have ever watched in my life, and it has absolutely everything you can think of.
It's got murder
in the series. It's got like 2 different murder mysteries. One's a murder potential for hire. The other one's an actual disappearance.
Animal smuggling.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. It's crazy. Little did we know.
Wait. It's also got erotic photo shoots.
Bizarro country music videos.
I don't even. I like how I say, speaking of happy things, and then you bring up Tiger King.
Because, okay, maybe it's not the happiest series. but it is like the most bizarre form of entertainment. It's so entertaining, but you feel bad for being entertained by it because 100%. It's so terrible at the same time. Like, these people are genuinely like I felt bad for them, but then also was like, no, you're a horrible human. Like, it was just, it's unreal. Like,
hello, all my cool cats and kittens.
Oh my God.
Listen,
I don't even care. I'm going to say it right now. That woman is a psychopath.
Oh, for sure. And her husband.
You know what? I won't say that she's a murderer because we're innocent until proven guilty in this country. But I will say that woman's crazy.
If you were a betting man.
Yeah. If you're placing bets, if your life depends on it, I'm going with she knows where her old husband is.
Oh my gosh, she's freaking okay. But now let's talk about real happy things, Tim.
Yeah, okay.
All right, we've been spitballing for a while of like how to do some cool, fun content during this quarantine, like stuff that's a little out of the ordinary that'll be fun.
Yes.
And we talked about doing watch-alongs with you guys here on the channel or podcast. And one of the first things that came to mind was obviously let's watch one of the best episodes from Batman the Animated Series. So
which is like, for both of us, that's like an easy one because we both grew up on it.
100%. Everyone knows that's like what got me into comics. So here, pretty recent, we're going to do a poll, pick 5 of like the most widely considered best Batman episodes and let you guys vote on which one we're going to watch and do a commentary on, I guess.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I'm excited. We've been talking about doing a watch along for a really long time. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to finally do one. And actually do it with the audience to where they can interact with us and we can say our mind about what we're watching.
Oh, for sure. I'm very curious to see what episodes, you know me, I love Batman. That is like my first love outside of my family. But I'm very curious to see what the audience is going to pick because I know like obviously like Heart of Ice and stuff is going to have to be in there, possibly Mad Love. So I'm very curious to see what's going to be like widely considered what the Variant Nation is going to pick as like the best Batman animated series episode of all time because there's quite a few episodes to choose from. Obviously, we're going to narrow it down to what we consider the best 5, and then they'll pick the one from there. But
we're going to get a lot of arguments, I think.
Yeah, they're like, how come this one wasn't in there? And you're like, well, because it's 5.
My favorite is the comments that say, you forgot this. Mm-hmm. You forgot that one. It's like, well, we didn't forget. We just didn't think it was the best one.
Yeah. To each his own.
We just don't agree on the same one.
And then
we'll that's going to be fun.
Yeah, and then if we go on from there and the audience likes it and we dig it as well, then maybe we'll do like movies. We know we talked about it before. Maybe we'll watch like the first Batman movie or even like movies that are considered to be bad in the comic book world, like Green Lantern or like Daredevil, because I think that could be fun.
That's what I was about to say. I want to do something that's terrible. Like I want to watch like something old and awful. So we can just do our own version, like Variant Mystery Science Theater 3000.
It would be really fun? The old Batman serials. Those old like before the Adam West Batman, like the old black and white serials. That would be really, really fun.
Even the original Superman.
Oh, yes.
Some of the original Superman stuff was pretty great.
Yes, that would be really cool.
Yeah, well, I'm a sucker for the vintage and the nostalgic anyway.
Oh, I grew up watching those shows too, like that and I Love Lucy because of my parents. They were always on like at Nick at Night, so I love those shows as well.
We actually, when they first released DC Universe, that's actually one of the things I watched the most when that first dropped, and I was shook because I was showing my kids some of the old Superman, some of the old Superman cartoons and some
faster
of the
than a speeding bullet.
Yeah, man, this freaking stuff is amazing. We should get the old George Reeves one, the live action.
Oh, dude, one of my favorite episodes. Do you remember when he cameoed on the I Love Lucy episode for Little Ricky's birthday party?
Yeah,
dude. Love that episode. I was like, dude, a crossover between Superman and Lucy? This is the best. This is the crossover the multiverse needed. Yeah, that was like the OG like cinematic universe and like crossovers. That was a real crisis. Superman got stuck with I Love Lucy.
The crisis, the idea Crisis on Infinite Earths stemmed from that episode.
But with all that said, I think we could bring this podcast to a close, if you will.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for, we're going to be posting the poll for which Batman the Animated Series episode you would like to see us do as our very first watch along. We're going to be posting that out on our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, so keep an eye out for that this coming week. We'll be posting that here pretty soon, so make sure you're watching our social media platforms for that. And one more thing I will mention too, to go out on a happy note too, is did you see John Krasinski's Some Good News on YouTube?
I saw it on the trending page, but I didn't watch it. I've been meaning to.
You have to watch it. It is a brilliant idea. He's not the first one to do it, and I think he even says it in the episode, but it's literally John Krasinski asking his followers on social media to send him stories, like good, feel good news stories that they're aware of. And he just picks like the top 8 or 10. But
that's amazing.
He brings in like Steve Carell as his, one of his correspondents.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
him and Emily Blunt are a national treasure.
They really are. They seem like just tremendous people, and it really is one of those things where it's like, this is the stuff we need right now. So if you're looking for something that's really bright and really uplifting to listen to, also go on. You can either go on John Krasinski's Instagram TV or his YouTube channel. And you can see John Krasinski's Some Good News, or SGN as he calls it. It's really great.
Well, you know what? I'm going to actually watch that while I eat dinner after we wrap this up right here in a second.
You won't be disappointed.
Yeah. But with that said,
I hear the little one in the background there.
Yeah, I think she's fighting with my wife because she doesn't want her dinner. So, 2-year-old problems, right? It's like, you eat what we give you and you be happy.
She's
you know what's going on right now?
You don't tell me, I tell you.
Yeah. She does this really fun thing where she goes, no, I don't want it. It's like, look, okay? You know how hard it is to get chicken right now? You're eating your dang chicken.
You turn into the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, then starve.
No joke. No, if anyone ever wants to test their patience, I would say more so than anything in the world, a toddler. A freaking toddler. Because you know why? Because you love, especially if they're your toddler, because you love them so dang much, but you see yourself in them, right? So, and you get mad at it because you're like this because part of me is in you. Anyway, with all that said, guys, we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.